Hello and welcome to Neurodivergent Relationships with Dr. Kathy Marshak, where we explore the often baffling dynamics between neurotypical and neurodiverse partners. Whether you're here to understand your relationship better, support a loved one on the autism spectrum, or simply find your voice in a neurodivergent world, you've come to the right place. I'm Dr. Kathy Marshak, psychologist, author, and your guide through the maze of mixed empathy communication. Today's podcast is entitled Welcome to Aspie Planet, Lessons from Mythic Quest. So in this Apple TV series, Mythic Quest, viewers get a front row seat to a world that feels strikingly familiar to those of us who live or work in neurodivergent communities, especially those of us who are neurotypical. Though not explicitly labeled, this series functions as a powerful allegory for life on what I call Aspie Planet, a culture governed by the logic, passion, intensity, and blind spots of those with autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, or more specifically what used to be called Asperger syndrome. Mythic Quest isn't just a quirky workplace comedy set in a game development company. It's a mirror held up to a world where emotional reciprocity, intuitive empathy, and relational context, the hallmarks of the empathy triad, are eclipsed by single-minded creativity, transactional communication, and obsessive loyalty to the work. The creatives, these are the masters of the Aspie domain. The heroes of Mythic Quest are the creatives, software engineers, designers, and writers whose genius drives the fictional game's success. They're eccentric, combative, overworked, and absolutely committed to their art. But they're also emotionally tone deaf, socially oblivious, and dare I say, isolated in their brilliance. Take Ian, for example, the self-proclaimed visionary who can't code but demands unquestioning loyalty. He leaves his family because he wouldn't have been a good father, then challenges an anonymous critic to a duel, only to find out it's his estranged son. His sense of intimacy is warped, filtered through the lens of competition and performance. On Aspie Planet, emotional discomfort is either ignored or gamified. And then there's Poppy, the genius coder and Ian's creative partner. She works long hours, sleeps under her desk, and can't have a conversation without directing, interrupting, or shutting down. Her breakdowns aren't treated as mental health concerns. They're seen as amusing quirks. She's respected for her skills, not her humanity. And then there's Jo, the volatile assistant with Midwestern values, channels her obsession with dominance and aggression into idolizing those in power. Jo could be seen as the autistic woman whose masking has turned into mimicry of the very systems that alienate her. So let's move on to the Aunties, outsiders in their own world. The few neurotypicals on the show are David, Carol, and Sue, and they're hilariously out of place. David, the manager of the company, is ridiculed for referencing Brene Brown. Carol, in HR, is begged for therapy by the employees while trying to set boundaries she can't enforce. And Sue, who lives in a basement office with no windows, cheerfully manages violent complaint tickets while being ignored by the company. She's the complaint manager. So their emotional sensitivity is mocked. Their attempts at relational repair are dismissed. Their authority, non-existent. They are relics of an emotional world the creatives have little use for. Aspie Planet and the illusion of progress. This is the crux of life on Aspie Planet. Emotional needs are not only misunderstood, they're irrelevant. Friendships outside of work don't exist. Romantic relationships are either vestigial or problematic. Everyone is on all the time, working, creating, arguing, but rarely connecting. When a union is proposed for the workers, when there's some union organizing going on, They only demand more money, not better work-life balance. They're okay with working incredible hours, they just want more money. That's not how Aspie Planet thinks. No work-life balance. And what happens when the logic of the creatives fails to account for unintended consequences? In one episode, the game opens the door for a literal Nazi faction to flourish. No one foresaw it. No one knew how to address it, because on Aspie Planet, the art is the point, not the impact. So why does this show matter? Why does any of this matter? For those of us who are neurotypical, and especially those who have spent our lives in neurodivergent families, Mythic Quest can feel less like satire and more like a documentary. It's not that Aspie Planet is evil, it's that it's incomplete. It prizes genius over collaboration, output over understanding, vision over relationship. The show is brilliant in its accuracy, showing how easy it is for Aunties to be sidelined, dismissed, or infantilized in a world where emotional intelligence is secondary. And it reveals a critical truth. When you build a culture around transactional logic alone, people get hurt. So, what do? First, we stop mocking the Aunties. David's vulnerability is not weakness. Carol's exhaustion is not overreaction. Sue's longing for a window in her basement office is not a punchline. Second, we name the dynamic. Aspie Planet isn't fiction for some of us. It's family life, married life, community life for many of us. Finally, we build bridges, not walls. That's what my work, including the 7-step interface protocol, is all about, developing a common language that honors both neurodiverse and neurotypical experiences. Maybe Mythic Quest is funny because it's true. It's also tragic because on Aspie Planet, the cost of brilliance is often lost connection. So let's talk about it. Join the after party. Have you seen Mythic Quest? Did you relate to any of the characters? Maybe Joe's emotional bluntness, Ian's inflated self-image, Poppy's workaholism, or were you more drawn to David, Carol, or Sue, trying to bring emotional sense to an emotionally tone-deaf world? What character do you most relate to, and why? Would you feel safe or connected living on Aspie Planet? And here's a deeper question to ponder for a future episode. Is this vision of Aspie Planet what it might look like when it's populated mostly by people who think in pictures, as described by famous autist Temple Grandin? Her book, Thinking in Pictures, describes that autistic way of processing. Come share your thoughts at our podcast after party discussion, a live and confidential conversation space for those of us living on both sides of the neurodivergent divide. You can find out more about the schedule at my website, www.drkathylearningcenter.thinkific.com to RSVP, or you can just Google me and you'll find it. If you're already a member of our online community or meetup group, check your event notifications. If you're new to the community, learn more about our support group and classes at www.asd-ntrelationships.com. So, we may even create future episodes diving deeper into Mythic Quest, depending on your feedback in the after party. It's such a fascinating show. Thanks for tuning in to Neurodivergent Relationships with Dr. Kathy Marshak. Until next time, remember, empathy is far more than words. It's how we live together on this planet, Aspie or not.